All right, it's Friday afternoon. It's Tropical Talk Radio. Grab a fresh coconut. I'm here with James from NomadicNotes.com. Let's get started.
Yeah, buddy, you've downloaded Tropical Talk Radio, where we talk about all things entrepreneurship, travel, and lifestyle. If you're interested in more about this program, check out TropicalMBA.com. And if you sign up for our mailing list, I will personally send you 50 free podcast episodes that take you along on our journey and expose the insider story on how we started $1 million honest-to-goodness product business while we traveled the globe.
James, do you recall how we met, actually? I think it was via the greatest social network on the planet.
This would have to be Dynamite Circle.
No, I think we met on Twitter, didn't we?
Absolutely. We did meet on Twitter first.
Yeah, and I was like, you got to join the Dynamite Circle.
Exactly, yeah. You didn't tell me anything. I was already sold before that.
Very cool. So a little bit of background from my perspective. We are sort of, I would say, like souls in some ways. We met each other, and I think we have so much in common. And I wanted to bring you on the show because you kind of fly in the face of a lot of my business philosophy. I say you can't be a solopreneur. You got to hire people. You got to build all this crap. And then you're like, well, I've been a solopreneur for 10 years and I've been traveling like since you were in diapers, kiddo. You know what I mean? So one of the most exciting things I want to do with you today is there's a lot of people like you that they want to be a solopreneur. They want to travel and they want to work on their laptop. They say, look, Dan, I don't want to manage a team. I don't want the stress. I mean, is that why you chose affiliate marketing?
Well, I actually started the affiliate marketing just because I didn't want to do the jobs that I was doing in the first place. Like I started affiliate marketing and web design in 2003 full-time.
Right.
And I was originally doing web design just as a hobby. And then I discovered that you could make money by building content and putting affiliate links inside that content.
Yes.
So it wasn't like I just decided to become an affiliate marketer. I sort of just organically fell into this process where my hobby became a full-time job.
Can you recall like one of those first sites that you put up that now is sort of defunct but that made you money? Is there sort of...
Yeah, I recall, the thing that I recall was when I made my first sale. It was like January 1, 2003. Like the site was up for 9 months or something.
Really?
And it was like New Year's Day, and I saw the little notification saying I made £10 for the sale of an air ticket, and I was like, if I could do that, 6 times a day, there's £60, like $100.
Right.
And I started working towards that goal, not really realizing that there were people already making a lot of money as affiliate marketers. It was only when I started stumbling upon affiliate marketing forums and webmaster forums when I found this whole subculture of marketers doing all this thing. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
So I want to structure this episode. We're going to talk about the scene, sort of like, because you know a lot of fellow travelers and you've seen a lot of things change. We're going to talk about sustainability.
Yes.
Because a lot of people are concerned. It's like, oh, that's great, you're an affiliate marketer, but what about your retirement plan?
Sure.
What about, what if you stopped working?
Yes.
What happens if you get sick?
Yes.
And finally, we are going to talk about how somebody could model your business process. So they could build a business like yours, obviously not similar, but we will lay out a strategy as if we were going to start an affiliate business right in this very room.
Okay.
And we're not going to do that because we're too lazy. But
All right.
but we're going to put that out there for anybody who wants to follow in your first step. But first off, 10 years on the road. A lot of people are sitting at home now and they want to follow in your footsteps. They want to travel endlessly.
Yes.
And they're scared. I mean, weren't you terrified 10 years ago? People weren't really doing this, were they?
No, I didn't really know if people were doing it or not. And it wasn't something I set out to do. Like I said, when I started, I just wanted to blend two passions of mine. I had a passion for travel and a passion for the internet. Any spare moment, I was always on the internet, whether it be reading about travel or reading about making money and making websites. So I was like, how can I put the two together? So I was like, all right, well, I'll make travel websites.
So the prescience of that, though, you didn't meet somebody that was like, hey, by the way,
No, it just came to, it was like more from the experience of having a string of terrible jobs. Like I didn't have any educational background. I didn't have a career. I was doing a lot of temp work, labouring, and then I'd go travelling in between that time.
It's really odd to think of you as a laborer.
Yes, yes.
You didn't go to university or anything
No,
like that.
no.
So you had the crap job. Was it the case that then you were coming home and building websites in the evenings kind of thing?
When I started web design, that was the case. So I'll just say that before I started web design, I'm much older than a lot of your listeners probably. So I was working before the internet. So there wasn't the internet. I'm sorry to say that. It makes me sound old as a 41-year-old, but there you go.
You know, you've been traveling for 10 years.
Yes.
Why do you keep traveling? Why haven't you burn out and said, you know what, it was a good run. I'm going to just go get a house now.
Sure. Well, actually every year I
You do have a house, by the way.
Yeah, I have 2 houses. So, but the thing
We're going to
is,
get on to sustainability.
I have.
Affiliate marketing can work, people.
It does. It's all right. But the thing is, I go home once a year to Melbourne, which is where I lived for many years.
Yep.
And I go and see my family, and I do the taxes. I still have a company that I have registered in Australia, which all my
Yes.
business is through there. So, just doing the paperwork, and I go back, and I usually stay at some friends' places. And every time I'm back there, I know that I don't want to be there. I'd much rather be in Asia, having a coconut, sitting in a cafe here, rather than back in Melbourne.
I'm impressed at your energy for travel. Like even now, you were planning your Europe trip that's coming up. And
Yes.
you're popping off to Indonesia and Malaysia, and we might see each other in Toronto in a few months. And
Absolutely.
It's man, I guess it's amazing to me that you still have such an incredible thirst to go around and see the world like that.
Yeah, it's not exhausting for me. I mean, my travels have changed over the years. Like when I first arrived in Europe all those years ago, I did the grand tour of Europe where you would go to a different country or city every day.
Yes.
And fine, it's great when you're young, but now it's like that would just completely wear me out. So I now find myself like I've been in Saigon for the last 4 months,
Right.
and it's like I've barely left the city limits. You know, I'm like, maybe next week I'll go
Noodle
somewhere
nut,
different.
yeah.
But for now it's like there's still so much I like. I like sort of embedding myself into a culture and finding a group of people I like hanging out with. And, the slow travel, they call it.
Did you listen to the Ho Chi Minh episode yet of Tropical Talk Radio?
No, not yet.
Okay, so I want to hear about how you disagree with what we said next.
Okay.
But let's talk a little bit about the scene.
Okay.
When you started 10 years ago traveling around and
Yes.
building your affiliate business, I mean,
Yes.
were you carrying a desktop computer around with you? I mean, what?
Well, my first laptop was like a Sony Vaio. It was like really heavy, and it was like, I think it was like 1,300 euros.
Yes.
So I nearly died when I maxed my credit card out and bought that thing. I just had it hidden under my pillow, thinking, "Oh my God, I just spent my whole life savings on this thing." But it was the one thing that I needed to make my business work.
And how has the scene changed? Is there anything that really sticks out for you? Like, I mean, I think about Skype. I think about
Yes.
the 4-hour work week.
Yes.
Are there certain things that stick out for you that have made the biggest impact? Because obviously, if you would have come to Saigon in 2003,
Yes.
I mean, we're sitting here in it's sort of a conference room at a
Sure.
startup center. I mean, things have really changed.
Well, it's interesting because my first ever trip to Asia was to Cambodia and Vietnam in 2005. And I had lived in Europe for a number of years before that. But this was like, I had no idea what to expect coming here. So I left my laptop in Melbourne. And I was like, oh, there's no way I could bring my laptop to Asia. It'd be too dangerous, I didn't have a clue. So
Your business was on such a flywheel at that point that
Yeah.
you felt like you could just walk away from your computer.
It was like I would go to a net cafe for like 2 hours in the morning and just like answer emails and make sure the mini empire was under control and there was all the sites were up and running.
It's interesting. You're in a different spot where your business is sustainable and it's
Yes.
grown.
Yes.
And you've got it sort of sorted.
Yes.
Whereas a lot of the people that are coming out here to baseline the stress of travel combined with the stress of doing a new business wears them out. But in your case, it's like it's all gravy, baby.
Yes.
Just go get another coconut. Go get another
Sure.
country.
Yeah. Well, if I had known what Asia was like then, like there weren't sites like your site back then, which was saying, "Hey, come to Asia because it's really cheap and you can."
Or
work
nomadicnotes.com.
Yeah, exactly. So I went and did it the hard way. I was living in Ireland for a year, living on cans of baked beans because I was like baselining there. So I was saving my money to have like a bit of runway. So when I left Ireland after 1 year of working there, I had some income to to cover me while my sites were getting developed.
What's more important, Skype or the 4-hour work week?
I think Skype, because I was already doing the 4-hour work week stuff, but
yes. Did it impact you differently when you read the book? Like, I think it's brilliant. When you read it, you were like, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years.
No, I thought it was amazing a read as well, and just the fact that the way he framed it was like you're having mini retirements now rather than saving up for the future. It really resonated with me, and I'm grateful for what that book has done in creating a community. So before that book, I was pretty much doing my own thing on my own, and which was fine. I didn't really know otherwise. But once I've started hanging out in communities online of other like-minded entrepreneurs who are traveling, it's made my travel so much better.
So let's talk about the sustainability point, because I think that I know that this is a big fear. I mean, it was a fear for me.
Yes.
Let's talk about what are your views on wealth? In terms of in the U.S., you might say you have a 401k.
Yes.
And if you could maybe put $500,000 in there or $1 million in there, then you could retire safely.
Yes.
Do you have a viewpoint on that?
Yeah, I mean, as an entrepreneurial-minded person, I'm always thinking about ways of making money and increasing my net wealth, and that's something that's never going to go away from me. I've always been interested.
Did you feel that way when you were the laborer, though, back in Melbourne, hammering nails? You were still thinking like...
I was always looking out for opportunities. Like when I was laboring, I would go to my boss and say, hey, I want to start a market business on the weekend. Can you help me out with that? Or I've got this idea for this other recycling project, because I was in the recycling business. So I was always looking for, ways to, make a business on the side. So that part of me has always been worrying. So it's only when the internet came along and it was like, wow, this is like my interest. This is something that I'm passionate about, that I came fully like a business myself.
So if you were to compare yourself to your peers who didn't take the entrepreneur, do you feel like who's taking the bigger risk? I mean, I'm always trying to poke away at this issue, like, what's your retirement going to look like as somebody who's been an entrepreneur for 10 years now?
Yes. Well, it's like on my side, I don't really tell people that they have to do this or have to do that, because it's like everyone has a different personality, and I think it's only maybe 5% of the population are entrepreneurial minded. Most people are going to freak out by being a boss.
Yes.
They're going to be happy to be clocking in and out from 9 to 5 and go home and watch TV and go to the football on Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's nothing wrong with that. And this show isn't for that crowd.
Sure.
But for me, continuing to do that is the unsafe option. Like continuing to have my soul crushed in a job that I hate is the unsafe option. Even if they're saying, look, here's $100,000 a year for the rest of your life, it's the unsafe option.
When you left home 10 years ago, were you a minimalist? Did you think about sort of freeing yourself from your possessions? And now that you've got the business and the homes and stuff, I mean, what do you think about in terms of weight? It's interesting to me because people say like, well, you could, like in 2 minutes, you could not be a traveler anymore. So it's like it's almost a really light decision.
Yes.
Whereas for maybe me, I made it heavier than it needed to be. But I look at a guy like you and I think, well, you could just move back into your house tomorrow. And
well, I don't have a house like that's mine. So it's all the properties I have are like investment properties. So it's set up so if I moved in, I would lose all the tax benefits. So it's sort of like I can't move.
Very
there.
Entrepreneurial.
So there is that. But the thing was like my long-term travel thing, how I just fell into that. It's the same with the minimalism. Like when I was for a number of years, I actually rented a room in a share house in Melbourne, and I would spend 6 months a year there off and on. So I would go away for go to Europe or something for 6 months and then come back. And every time I came back, I'd look at all the stuff in my room going, wow, it's like a lot of things in here I didn't really need in the last 6 months. So I'd just continually, start getting rid of stuff.
Yes.
And to the point where when I eventually moved out of that house in 2010, I just packed up all of my boxes of the most important stuff and put it at my parents' house. But I'm sure if I went back there now, I would look at those boxes going, what was I thinking keeping all this stuff?
It's really, the digital world has changed things so
Absolutely.
much too, with the smartphones and the Dropbox. And
it's changed the like I had a whole a whole box, like an Apple box. It was just full of photos.
Right.
And they were like, these, photos are just the same thing. And I just kept a bunch of them, but most of it's all digital now. So you can just have all your photos online. So there's one box saved just from digital.
All right. Let's talk some business.
Yes.
Because all this coconut drinking, traveling to Europe, kind of having a couple investment property stuff isn't going to happen unless, I'm assuming at the beginning, you really worked your tail off. So let's set the expectations in terms of hard work. What do you think it takes?
Well, it takes dedication. It takes sitting at home on Friday night when everyone is going out to the movies or going to the pub. It's like your mindset, Tropical Talk Radio, we're sitting here working, we're getting the edge on everyone else.
Yes.
When I was working in a job in Ireland, I would go to the net cafes that were the 24-hour ones, and they would have these $2 deals where you could just spend all night from midnight onwards. So I was like, great, I'll just spend the night here and work and then go to work the next day.
And it adds up to, don't you think it's the case that since you've been doing it for a decade that it's like you have such a fantastic foundation that whenever you learn something new, it's sort of doubly powerful. So you got a lot of momentum now, It's difficult for me to imagine, now that I know about you and your business chops, that you would ever not be able to make it work. It's almost like it's difficult. Entrepreneurship is a skill set, right? And the longer you do it, the easier it gets.
Yeah, it's totally I was about 5 years in, and I had a terrible year with affiliate marketing where my income just plummeted, and it was back to the wall stuff. So I was I had to get back in there and remodel all of my sites and then try and make something happen. And then I always have in the back of my mind, well, I have what I can go back to is what I don't want to go back to. So I will do whatever it takes.
Absolutely. All right. So speaking of back up against the wall and getting started, I would like to give our listeners an idea of how they could start a business in your sort of genre of business. First, could you give us sort of a general idea of how you might make money, hypothetically? Because I know you don't share your stuff publicly, in part because with affiliate marketing, someone can just go nab your stuff. So it's important to keep it close to the vest. But could you give an example, just a sort of a theoretical example of how you might make money right now?
Sure. I do a lot of stuff in the travel niche, which there is a lot of things you can choose from. So within the travel niche, you could pick something something that has a high-paying affiliate payout. So
like a cruise ship kind of thing?
Cruise ships, or you could or any package deals which are high-end, where you get a 5% commission.
Okay.
So you could sort of work on that. So you could do luxury tours.
Okay.
That's another one.
So you would set up then a site that drives sales for the supplier of the luxury tours.
Yes.
How do you find deals like that? How do you decide that, I'm going to be the guy that sells the China gambling tour or whatever? How do you decide?
Well, there's plenty of directories of affiliate programs. You can just go and select. Say if you go to Commission Junction or something,
okay.
There's thousands of merchants in there where you can select, and you can sort from.
Would Commission Junction be the first step?
That's
ground
a good
zero?
start.
Yeah.
They have proper travel companies in there, so they're brand names that everyone's heard of. So you would have no problem in putting your name behind a lot of these products.
What to you when you're surfing around Commission Junction would mean a good opportunity? What makes you? Is there anything that sticks out to you that maybe I could do that?
I guess if it's something that you would feel happy in putting a name behind, and if it has a good commission payout, for example, in Commission Junction there is Rail Europe, which are the official supplier of Eurail tickets in North America.
Okay.
So for a long time they had a 5% commission on all the ticket sales. I think it's now 3%, but for a long time it was 5%. But so
5%. What would a ticket sale be?
Well, a ticket, a Eurail ticket for $1,500. So you're getting a nice little commission from that one.
So you would then set up a website that would talk passionately about your experiences on the Eurorail.
Yes.
And then you would drive people to sort of have that experience as well.
Yes. So you can make a go-to site for Eurail, talking about what you get for each ticket, and then you can have information about Eurail, because you go to the Eurail site and sometimes They don't answer every question.
Sure.
Like, where the tickets are valid, or some people might just want to know how hard it is to get a ticket in a certain town or something like that. So you could be like the person who has all the information for that site.
All right, so we're going to do the nomadicnotes.com branded solopreneur start plan.
Excellent.
Approved by James. So this is the idea that if you want to be a guy who loves the internet or a girl who loves the internet, loves travel, you can open up that laptop maybe for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day at the beginning, and then you can wean yourself off of that maybe after the first year or two.
Yes.
And you can build yourself this amazing lifestyle. So our goal here is to get our listener, our hypothetical listener, to a baseline of $2,000 a month in bottom line income.
Yes.
That will be enough for them to travel quite nicely, I'd say, almost anywhere. I mean, you can be sharp and get around the world in $2,000 a month, yeah?
Definitely. I mean, especially where we are at the moment.
Yes.
We can get by on $1,000 a month quite easily.
Easily. So then you're pocketing away $1,000 for your Europe trip.
Exactly. You got to spread it out so when you hit the 3,000 or 4,000, it's okay. But dollar cost averaged over the year, that's a good amount.
Okay, so the first step then in the Solopreneur Start Plan would be to identify a product with a good affiliate payout that you feel passionate about. So for this hypothetical, we're going to talk about credit cards.
Okay.
As one of the things that we were both talking about is like how credit cards, they make it easy to travel. I mean, people might think, well, how could I write about credit cards, or like credit cards are evil or whatever? But actually, there's a way that you can frame it that makes them very exciting. First off, if you use them effectively, you get a lot of bonus points. You can get free stuff. You can travel easily. You have fraud protection. So there are a lot of interesting things. So you got to, if you want to be an affiliate marketer, you got to frame this stuff up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, the credit cards are an essential part of travel these days, whether it be like booking flights online or for protection of purchases.
Okay.
And used correctly, like in my younger days, I certainly, used the credit cards to buy, like I said, my laptop, where I just blew it all out. But,
Yep.
And, nowadays my credit cards are all at zero every month, but I use it to, acquire frequent flyer points, so I get free flights every year, and that's
Right.
a great thing for a traveler.
There you go. So you're getting a huge benefit out of credit cards. You decide that other people could get that same sort of benefit. We did a quick little googly between $50 and $150 for ballpark for these affiliate payouts.
Yes.
Let's go to the bottom end. So we're going to pick a card that has a $50 payout or a group of cards.
Yes.
The next step is for us to identify a URL. I wrote down travelplastic.org.
Great
Is that
name.
a good URL?
That's awesome.
So how do you select a URL for this site that we're going to develop? And the other thing we talked about, by the way, is that maybe back in the day you would have done 10 sites, but now you're saying you just do one site.
Yes. Well, back in the day too, you would have done exact match keyword domains, which now is sort of a no-no. So because of Google's last update last year, where they pinged the exact match domains. So having a name that you could sort of brand like that, Travel Plastic, it's sort of like short and memorable, and it sort of gives you the idea of what the site is about.
Okay, so we've identified it. We've gotten our brand name. Next step is the content plan. We're talking about 1 to 3 times, 1 to 3 articles a week.
Yes. So if we're looking at it in the fact that someone's still got a 9-to-5 job, they can make this on the side when they go home at night. So you can make 1 to 3 articles a week.
What kinds of things would you write about?
You would do things like credit card comparison, like saying which credit cards have like the least interest, or which ones give you the most amount of points per sales, like whether there's bonuses.
You could maybe piggyback industry news.
Yes.
So if like Visa makes an announcement, you could give a color commentary. You could critique things in the industry. I think that maybe make a little bit of controversy around some things.
Yes.
You could do reader Q&As.
Great.
I wrote that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have readers, you could just make them up.
Right.
At the beginning, just say like Peter asks.
Right.
And Peter is this hypothetically really intuitive, smart gentleman who wants to know about some stuff. So okay. So you got the URL up. You got your affiliate programs, and you're committed to writing 3 articles a week. Which, at some point, it's got to be nose plus grindstone.
Absolutely.
And this is where that happens.
And that's a great point, because I think a lot of people get sold on the idea of, well, you can just make this really easily and boom, you've made a whole bunch of money. But it's like, it doesn't happen for free. It's like a lot of nose to the grindstone.
it takes a long time to figure out what kind of things motivate people and what kinds of content. I mean, people think of it very selfishly, like, oh, I got to generate X amount of articles until I make money online or whatever. But what you're really doing is you're building things for other people. So if those articles aren't helping them make their credit card buying decisions, then you'll know that in your Commission Junction account.
Exactly. And the thing too with affiliate sites now is personality matters more than ever. Like back in the old days, it was like you could just slap up an affiliate site and it could be anonymous and people would just click through. Now people are more discerning. It's like, well, who is writing this?
Well, and it could be interesting too. So let's say you have a really strong opinion.
Yes.
And you come out and you say, you know what? These Visa guys, they're so full of crap. I'm only talking about MasterCard now. And then you take away your affiliate links off of the Visa.
Yes.
And guess who's going to come calling in a couple months?
Exactly.
And so it might make sense for you to be an advocate for your readers. And it could be more fun for you to generate that content too. So we did the math on this, James. And what I decided and I was going to be real conservative to say, if in order to make $2,000 a month, you need to make 40 sales a month. 1.5, or not quite, but anyway, you get the point. So we figured out how could you get there. And in a very conservative manner, let's say you converted 0.05% of your visitors to customers, people who clicked through and got the credit card. That would give you 50 sales a month. And we're not even talking about the gravy. If they got on your mailing list, not counting. If they liked your Facebook page, followed you on Twitter, repeat relationships, they trust you, all that's just gravy. You're going to make 50 sales a month, converting 0.05% of your traffic. Does that strike you as doable? It strikes me as totally doable. I guess the question I have for you is, how long would it take you to get 10,000 visitors to your website?
That's a good question. And like we said, if you aimed for like having 3 articles a week, like 3 quality articles, maybe over 500 words at least, and it's infused with your personality and it's something that's compelling that people want to come back to and read, then that would give you the 150 articles in 1 year. So, sure, why not? Maybe you could get that 10,000 readers per month.
Come home from that job, hit the net cafe,
Exactly.
crack open a coconut, and within 1 year you could be rocking solopreneur on the road lifestyle. You can find out more at nomadicnotes.com. Thanks for joining us, James.
Thanks for having me, Dan.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. Don't be shy. We've got a mailing list. Check it out at tropicalmba.com. Get yourself signed up and we'll keep you up to date on everything we do, plus give you those 50 free podcast episodes. If you want to say, hey, check me out on Twitter at Tropical MBA. We'll see you soon.